Boston Bruins have a very busy upcoming offseason, and there's a few moves that we know are going to happen. However, there's much speculation about a trade to get a top six center, and we now have a good idea of what the Bruins are going to be looking for. So I'll be talking about that specific trade in this video, as well as a few moves internally that the Boston Bruins are set to make in this offseason. But before we get into all of this, we know that 81% of you guys watching right now are not subscribed to the channel. If you're looking for a spot to get all of your Boston Bruins news, you're in the right spot. Make sure to hit the sub button. Join me here in this offseason as we expect a lot of Boston Bruins news and a very busy offseason from this team, and you're going to want to stay up to date with it, and I'll be keeping you up to date with it, as I said. But let's go straight into our first one here. We got two little small ones here before the big trade rumor at the end of the video, but before we get to that, we're going to go over the two small ones, and that's Pat Maroon for the first one. He seemingly wants to return to this Boston Bruins lineup and really help the young development of this team. And this here comes from the Bruins Benders podcast. Pat Maroon wants to re-sign with the Bruins. Would you give him a Lucic deal from last year? 1 year, $1 million base, and a cap hit with incentives to get to $1.5 million. And I'll be the first to say as well, right here, I think this is a fantastic idea. Although Pat Maroon was really not the guy that we want him to be in the playoffs, he definitely did his job, but just not to the level that we had really hoped. He still was a pest to many other players and the other teams on the ice. The great leader in the locker room, the bench, on the ice. That's from all the players and Jim Montgomery as well. And that was really the reason that he stayed in this lineup without having too much offensive or defensive success. That's not really what he was there for. And we knew that. We had to take that into consideration, that this lineup didn't have all the playoff experience that we would have liked. And Pat Maroon was a really good guy to fill that in for the time being with all of these younger guys. And as he said here, it would be a pretty interesting idea to bring him back on that, give him the incentive to play well, but he also wants to help these younger guys on this team develop, which I think is a fantastic idea, especially the way this team's age is trending kind of down right now. Until next season, we don't really know how old this team's average age will be. Right now, it's pretty in the middle, but I do expect a lot of younger guys to try and make the move up here at the beginning of next season, before, the Bruins hit the trade deadline, the free agency market, and whatnot. But let me know, do you think Pat Maroon should get a 1 year deal on a $1 million salary with the incentives, that they gave here, kind of just enough to get him that motivation to keep going, try and go get a few goals here and there and a few points and whatnot. Let's move on to our second one, which is another internal move here, is Danton Heinen. Is he getting an extension coming? What's the situation with him? We know that this year he had a very surprising season for the most part, fighting for a lineup spot at the beginning of the season, and then became an integral part here at the last going off, as well as in the playoffs. And this one here is from an Athletic article from Fluto Shinzawa. It says, Danton Heinen, 3-zone winger, earned a 1 year, $775,000 contract after making the team on a tryout basis. The two-time Bruins scored 17 goals and 19 assists while playing on the top three lines at some point, or if not all, throughout this whole season. He earned the right to not just be a full-time NHLer next season, but also who could pursue a multi-year deal. Missed 5 playoffs games because of a lingering injury. He declined to disclose, but didn't think he would need surgery, and Fluto Shinzawa has the chance of returning as a maybe. Once again, I'm a high agreement that Danton Heinen should return to this lineup. Give him another chance. As you can see, 17 goals, 19 assists. Those are fantastic numbers for a guy on that contract. And, he's not going to be a guy pulling for a lot of money, I wouldn't say. If he does, he's certainly a guy you could let walk. However, I gotta see the interest being there from both sides. The Bruins definitely don't have to pay him too much money. And if you can get a guy like that who has the ability to play in the top two lines if need be, but can stay around your third, fourth line and have this kind of production, another absolutely fantastic idea to bring him back. Try and get a multi-year deal, maybe around $1 million, $2 million, anywhere like that, because we've seen Danton Heinen's production here this season. That can absolutely translate into some future for him. But now let's move on to the big one here. Is this possible? Do you think this trade could happen? The Boston Bruins, could they possibly trade for Martin Necas' RFA rights from the Carolina Hurricanes? One guy I've been absolutely a massive fan of since he's been in the NHL is Martin Necas. And this is here from another Athletic article. We're discussing What's next for the Boston Bruins here this offseason? What moves do Don Sweeney need to make to prove to us that this team is a ready-to-go team? So Sweeney could also get creative via trades this offseason in order to add top six talent. If the Hurricanes are looking to overhaul their goalie rotation, could they opt to deal the signing rights of the 25-year-old center Martin Necas to Boston for a player like Ullmark? Now, this is a very, very interesting move here, knowing that Linus Ullmark has two decisions. He either stay with Jeremy Swayman, be a tandem once again, and likely have the same result if things play out the exact same way in the playoffs next year, where Jeremy Swayman it's his net. He's the future of this team. He's getting the new contract. He's going to be that number one guy, and he proved that in these playoffs. Or he gets traded. Once again, has to move his no-move clause. There was one close at the deadline. Couldn't get done. Didn't waive it to go to LA. Now, Martin Necas, we know, is a great player, a very, very high potential center power forward, a guy that you want to have on your team. And from what we know from the Boston Bruins, they could definitely use a top six center and someone who will stay in the top six throughout the whole season. And that's one thing the Bruins have really lacked in this year. Pavel Zacha, Charlie Coyle definitely filled that role this season, but I don't know if they're the long-term options that the Boston Bruins want. We know that they can fit in here and there. We've seen them go down to the third line, the wing, whatever the opportunity arose for those guys. They fit into wherever they needed, and that was a very good thing. But Martin Necas, the way he's been playing in his career, I will pull up his stats here, as you can see, 243 points in 362 games. Very, very good numbers by the former 12th overall pick in 2017. I'm very excited to see what could come out of him. There's a lot of rumors about him being traded to possibly Montreal, to so many other teams, but Montreal's been the really big one that I've seen. And this year, I don't think the Carolina Hurricanes are going to be able to keep him. They kind of screwed themselves over with the Kotkaniemi deal and all that, and they have a lot of people to try and re-sign, a lot of overhauling to move on to, as well as the goaltending situation for them is pretty interesting. So I think a guy like Ullmark needs to be on the table for them, and if we can get a guy like Martin Necas in return, have the freedom to re-sign him as he is an RFA, the Bruins, I think, have a win-win situation here. You can get rid of, I don't want to say get rid of, because you don't want to get rid of Linus Ullmark, but the availability to move him is there. I think it's a very good idea, and, Martin Necas is a very good player and a suitable, fitting player for this Boston Bruins team, the way this whole lineup is built. I think that he'd be the perfect fit, and I'll just pull up his former contract, the one he's just coming off of. It was a 2-year, $6 million contract of $3 million AAV, and he was worth every penny of that. So if the Bruins can get something, a Kent Hughes style deal, I guess you could say, from the Canadians, you hate to admit it, but he's making some fantastic contracts over there. I very much would like this deal. A $6-7 million deal for a guy like Martin Necas, long term, more than just points. He's a very physical force out there, 6'2", 189. Definitely seems like more than 189 on the ice. He's throwing around his body, and he's just a fantastic player. 9 points in 11 games in the playoff this year. Really had a playoff experience, as you can see, and that's exactly what the Boston Bruins need. So, let me know what you guys think about this trade, this potential trade, I should say, in the comments below. Do you think it would be Linus Ullmark? If it wasn't Ullmark, would you still try and trade for him? Let me know. It's a very interesting one. I'm a huge fan of it, and I think Boston should definitely try and dip their toes into the water there and see what's going on with the Carolina Hurricanes. But that's all I got here in this video. If you did enjoy, make sure to give the video a like. Hit the sub button as well if you do want to stay up to date with all of the Boston Bruins news we have this summer. I'm very excited. I cannot wait to see some moves being started to make, and I will keep you up to date with everything that this team has to offer, like I said. But, I'm checking out. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. See you later.